do one announcement to announce something very special today.
Very special today?
Yeah. You guys, I just think you should know, Robert in this room did his own first transaction. I think that's pretty darn impressive. Robert, I am serious.
Oh, Robert.
I'm so proud of you. You have no idea. What a huge accomplishment.
So, going through the package here, left side I've got a little bit of propaganda stuff on there. The first item that's on there is our next month's event. Where's Daryl at? Daryl, so we've got the code is right on there, so you can, we appreciate it, we do appreciate it. Different programs that are available that we do, I don't think I've got a flyer on it here. Stated income loans are back. So we've just gotten started doing those. Some people, they're not quite as easy as they were in 2007 or 2008. You do have to fog a mirror nowadays, which you didn't have to do that back then. Actually, I guess all you had to do was fog a mirror. That was about it.
Yay.
Hello there.
Hi, Miss Jenny.
I don't know if this was inside the package. I think it got into some of them. I don't know if it got into all of them. I just had this conversation on radio this morning. We didn't do a very good job of discussing it, but I wanted to share just so you guys all have it. Rent versus own, there's a big question mark right now on rent versus own as to is there a lot of benefit to renting versus owning with respect to the SALT, state and local tax write-offs. So we got down to about a $450,000 loan or purchase amount with 20% down payment. That still has tax write-offs after deducting for the new deductions. So anytime you need a buy versus rent analysis, we can do that for any property price. We can also co-brand it. I can just take my logo off and put your mugshot in there. And we've got the real estate report card for anybody that wants a real estate report card talking about median family home prices, what the appreciation projections are, historical. I was kind of surprised when I looked at Orange County, California, the 59-year average home appreciation, 6.13%. I don't know too many people, that's it taken, if you look at the peaks, the bubbles, the valleys, the recessions, the corrections, 6.13%. So that's in there, anything you want with it. Right side, that's got a, a survey in there. So we always like to try and get better, so if you'll fill that out when you're done, I'll also have one question coming up here in a minute that maybe you can help me with filling that part out. Then we're going to get a real thick package today. We're going to go through that almost step by step, and it'll follow the PowerPoint, but that way you don't have to spend a lot of time writing. You can take notes on it. Everybody got a pen? Cool. So you don't have to take a lot of notes, but it's going to go through a lot of the items in there. And then finally, the last thing on the right side, I don't want anybody to think that we don't have homework. So I did give you some homework in that package as well. And a lot of it is because I'll share a quick story with you. I'm on a lot of webinars and seminars and whatnot. And I did a seminar on how to do your own radio show. And I had people asking me, why would you teach, and it was all lenders on this broadcast. And they said, why would you teach all the lenders how to do a radio show when that's your competition? And I said, the answer is real simple. Makes me look like a nice guy, and I know that 92% of the people won't implement anything, right? So to try and encourage you to implement, here's some homework that's just kind of like a checklist of the things that we're going to go through, and hopefully you'll go through that and try and increase your business. That's our goal, is to help you do more business for the coming year. Does that make sense to everyone? So obviously, as you know, our goal is to be your lender, right? Everybody should have their own unique selling propositions, and I know that if you've ever done a real estate transaction, if you've ever talked to a lender, the common word is, I have great rates, great service. Anyone ever heard that one before?
Yeah.
Bob, it's the first time, right, Bob? Yeah. Okay, so that's the, I always say, if you're playing poker, that's Annie, right? That's how you get into the game. Some even actually do it. We have a little bit of a different proposition that we offer. For Fast Pass loan approval, So we get your clients completely underwritten before they get in the car. Close in 12 days. If the sellers want to. So that's our first one. Second one is we waive all your lender fees. So if you're going out and talking to somebody and they tell you they've got a pre-approval from Wells Fargo, ask them what the lender fees are on there. They're $6,000 to $7,000. We'll waive them all. Can't do anything about third-party fees. We don't control that. As a seller's agent, generally you don't either, right? So you're gonna have the sellers are gonna choose. Third one, pay up to 50% of your marketing costs, right? Not everybody's doing that one. And the fourth one, electronic surveillance. And no, I don't have a GPS for everybody. We're gonna talk about GPS in a minute. But I got a chip in Curtis, right? But do you think you could do more transactions if you knew ahead of time when your past clients are taking some sort of activity that is real estate related? Right? They didn't call you, but they just went and started fixing the air conditioner, painting the house, doing some carpet work, maybe taking out a HELOC, right? So we've got that kind of information. We share that. That's all that I'm going to say about us. It's about you. Our agenda for the day. So we're going to build a business vision. Everything has to start with a vision. Where do you want to go? If you don't know where you're going, you can get in the car and get on Highway 10, but if you're going to Seattle, it's going to take you a long time to get there, right? So you need to know where you're going. Finances, right? How are you going to pay for everything? So it's part of our business, and those of you that have been with us here before, I will share with you because we're talking financial structure. I've been doing these for about 6 months now, and usually the saving money side, the disinheriting the IRS side, is done by my partner Todd Halterman, and his grandmother is extremely ill right now, so he didn't come in this time for our presentation. So I'm going to just do the whole thing myself. GPS, a business plan. Again, we're going to talk about that, knowing exactly where you are, where you're going, setting up operations. As some of you may know, I'm a systems guy. I don't like to do anything twice. So if I do it once and know that I'm going to have to do it a second time, I try and set up a system, a template, something along those lines, so I'm not having to repeat myself over and over again. Marketing plan, right? We're going to next month. I know we've got a full lunch and learn scheduled on building your marketing plan for the entire year for next year. Pyramid of a complete agent, accountability and coaching. Very few people can do this type of thing without getting some sort of coaching, without some sort of guidance, and in real estate, mortgage, whatever, title probably as well. Right? It's all about accountability, and many of us say, well, I'll put it off till tomorrow. Right? Has anyone ever done that one? So we're going to try and get around that one. 3 parts of your business: marketing, operations, and finance. I don't know if you can think of another one, but those are the 3 parts. We do seminars on all of them. So when I said to you before that I wanted to, if you would grab that survey sheet, I'm going to show you the different lunch and learns that we do. And if there's one of them that's really, really interesting to you, make sure and put it down. That way we can do things based on what excites you as opposed to what excites me, right? So we've already done the Extreme Lead seminar. I think we've got in January. We're doing 30 listings in 30 days. And we're doing that based on a gentleman that does it every single month, moved to a brand new market with knowing absolutely nobody in the market, and started his business. Didn't do anything right for the first 6 months, realized what he was doing wrong, coaching, and now since then he does a listing a day every single day. Mining your database, we've talked about. Marketing plan we're going to work on. Is it dark to anybody else other than me?
It's dark.
Yeah. You guys even see it in the back? Okay, good. Building your online presence. Right, nowadays if you don't have an online presence, forget it. If you're trying to do it with a millennial, I use this same example many, many times. We have a lot of friends in a lot of areas. We ask them where to go to eat. They tell us where to go to eat. I like to eat, obviously. And Mindy goes to Yelp to see what it's about, right? We just had somebody that we know, like, and trust tell us to go to a restaurant. Yet she's going to go to Yelp to find out what somebody that we don't know, we don't trust, may or may not like them, but we don't know them, so we don't know. And we're going to take their opinion over somebody that we already know, right? That's what we do in this day and age, especially the millennials. So if we know that that's happening, we have to plan for it. Social media boot camp, I've got that already in the can, it's done. Obviously, I do a lot on social media, and there's people that have more connections than I do. I don't know, we've held steady right now at about 59,000 connections on our social media channels. So, good, bad, or indifferent, that's where we are. Parties for profit, does anybody like to party? Am I the only one? We went to a real nice event last night for a title person that's retiring. And there was a lot of business being done there last night at this event, all over martinis, right? Well, maybe I had martinis. Business planning, we've talked about creating raving fans. That's what it's all about. I talked to a gentleman last night. He does 110 to 130 transactions every single year, and he's been doing it for about 10 years. And he doesn't do anything, any advertising. It's all word of mouth. You can't do word of mouth transactions to that extent. Where'd that go? I don't know. Can't do it to that extent if you're not creating raving fans. If you haven't read the book Raving Fan, great book about a car dealership in Dallas. Anybody ever hear of Fletcher Jones Motor Cars? Right?
Yes.
They copied the guy in Dallas. And his people they get less per car to sell their cars, but make about 50% more money than anybody else in the marketplace because of creating raving fans. Doctor and Nurse for Realtors, that's a program teaching how to build your business, right? This is operations. Are you answering the phone call, every phone call, or is somebody else doing it? And how does the doctor's office do it? So that's that session. Work smarter, not harder. Anything I can do to not work harder, I'm happy. So, all right, Robert, isn't that it? So if I can work smarter, I've got a challenge there also, but I'll try it. Mid-year review and breakthrough. We can't wait until November to see if we're on track to accomplish our goals. So we'll do that in June or July. Finance. My degrees are accounting, marketing, and management. Are we watching what our finances are? Are we spending more money than we make? You know, you might have a good amount of GCI, but if your expenses are greater than your GCI, are you really doing what you want to be doing? Time management. Right, do we have our time? Are we blocking time? Key issue there. Wealth workshop, all parts of the different workshops. If there's one of them that really excites you on there, just let me know. So, going through our sheet here, just a little bit of a quiz. If you'll take out the back of the first sheet, if you'll take a look at that, and let's just this is all for you. Again, it doesn't have anything to do with me. I'm not going to collect the quiz, so if we had homework, we have to have a quiz, right? So, 3 parts of your business. The marketing. Are you generating 40 leads a month, yes or no? If you have to think about it, the answer is no. If you have to justify it, well, I took a couple weeks off in June. Well, the answer is no, right? Because you should be planning on, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks a year, whatever your goal is, right? But make a note there. Do you have 4 sources of leads? Where are all your leads coming from? Do you know it? If you don't know it, just put no. Not a right, we're not going to get graded on this, right? But just make sure you put that in there. Do you have a flow chart of who does what in your business? And if you don't, the likelihood is that things are going to fall through the cracks, right? And then the flow chart might be that I give everything to Mindy, right? That's my flow chart. Okay, so now she has to have a flow chart of what she does and who she gives it to, right? So you might have a transaction coordinator that's dealing with these things. Yes or no? You have a job description for everybody, right? My job is to prospect, right? My job is to do the radio show. My job is not to collect tax returns. Somebody else has that job.
That's my job.
Right? So, no, it's serious. So everybody has to know their roles within the organization. Are you having a team meeting? If you're a solopreneur, that team meeting should be with yourself, right? That way you're looking and seeing, are you accomplishing everything that you're setting up to do? We're going to talk about an agenda for yourself, a greatness tracker, right? So you need to either a team meeting. A lot of that has to do with, a couple months ago, if you were here, we talked about the 7 habits of highly successful people, right? And having a system for everything and meeting with people and understanding what you're trying to accomplish. A lot of these things are going to come right out of that area. But when you're talking about doing that team meeting, if I'm doing a team meeting, part of it is because I'm lazy. Well, maybe not lazy. I'm time challenged. I think I was told I got to start using time challenged, right? So the reason I want to have a team, the reason I send out a report every day at 6 o'clock in the morning to every agent who we're doing a transaction with, is that way we're communicating, and more often not, the agents don't need to call me with any questions, right? Because I've already answered them proactively. I'm answering them before you ask them. That way if a client calls you and says, what's the status of X? Well, you can go into your emails and look at 6 o'clock, and there's the message from Ron, and there's the last notes for that file, right? Now, we send it out during the day also for benchmarks, but that's right there. That's why we have those, so you don't have the extra work. So your team meeting, or the goal of your team meeting, is so that your team isn't coming to you all day long asking you one question at a time. They know that at 9 a.m. every day we're going to have a team meeting, and I can get anything that's not unbelievably urgent answered at that time. Do you have a monthly P&L? Are you going to wait until December and say, oh, I didn't make any money? Right? You've got to watch out for those things. Those are just some of the snake bites. Do you have goals? Right? If you don't have any goals, just say no. Right? The whole idea on goals is, here's the issue, is a lot of people have goals. Right? They say, well, the most successful people of the world write down their goals. And I'm going to challenge that. The most successful people write down their goals and act on them. Because if you write down your goals and throw them in the bottom desk drawer, it's just like you didn't write them down, right? Do you have a written business plan? Do you know how you're going to get to where you want to go, right? Do you want to achieve, I want to own this market. How am I going to own that market? Right? I've talked to you before about having the ability of giving you emails and phone and cell phone numbers of people in your farm, right? We've got that data. How are you going to do it? Why does this thing keep doing this time? So those are basically the marketing, operations, finance. That's the quiz part of what we're doing. What are your strengths and weaknesses? I've shared this with folks many, many times. I learned it from a friend of mine who, again, he just corrected me on radio the other day. I said he's a retired military. He says, no, I can't say that I'm retired. I'm a veteran because I only served 9 years, 8 of them in Special Forces. Right? He didn't serve 20 years, so he can't say that he's retired. But one of the things that he's shared with me, and one of the things that he taught me, hire your weaknesses. So if you identify what your strengths are, find somebody. I'm not very good at all the follow-up stuff, right? So I have people in my team that are very good at follow-up, that are good at getting on the phone, right? Create systems to get that done, right? So you need to hire your weaknesses and identify them. You've got on your sheet there, what are your strengths and weaknesses? So you can put that right on the quiz. And what are your 3 main jobs? Right? As a real estate agent, you can say all these different things, but the answer is, it's kind of like in real estate, what are the 3 most important parts of real estate? Location, location, location. What's your 3 main jobs? Prospect, 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 right? You might throw in convert in there a little bit, that might help. So you need to generate a certain number of leads every single month, right? That's the goal. Do you know what that number is? Are you tracking those things? Anything that you're not tracking probably isn't going to get done. Right? That's just kind of a common issue. That which gets tracked, that which gets measured, gets done. So how many do you need? What's your conversion rate? If somebody calls you and asks from a sign and asks you a question and it goes nowhere, is that a lead? Yeah. Right? Because you had the opportunity to convert them. You had the opportunity to engage them and to get them to find out where they are in the process. Right? It could be that they don't want to buy for 6 months. Okay? No problem. Put down 5 months or 3 months or 4 months to call them back. Right? So it might not be a dead lead, but you want to put that in there so you know, are you converting those which you're chatting with. It'll also tell you, if you start looking at those numbers, where you need to focus on, right? If you start seeing I get a lot of leads, but I'm not closing anything, well, maybe it's sales skills that you need to work on. Get a lot of contracts, but they don't get to a paycheck, they don't get to closing. Well, maybe there's something in the process there that's falling apart, right? So we want to know all of those different things. and a budget issue, right? Managing that, the P&L. What do you want to make? What do you want to do? What do you want to save? So 3 parts of your budget numbers that are going to come in, and we'll get into this more in a little bit, is how much do you want to make, how much do you want to give away, and how much do you want to save, right? And you want to know the numbers for every one of them to see if you're achieving that. So obviously, the finance drives everything that we're doing, right? If you don't know your numbers, if you don't know how many sales you need, then you're not going to know how many leads you need, right? I talked to one agent in San Diego. He knows that he gets 2.7 buyer transactions for every 1 listing, right? That's just his numbers, and he does about 150 listings a year, right? He's in the VA world, does a huge amount of business, but he knows that that's the numbers that he's working with. Do you know your numbers? Look at your numbers. You start with what did you make last year, right? So that's where you can figure out a lot of this information. What were your 2017 everything, right? How many buyers did you talk to? How many buyers did you put in the car? How many buyers did you get into properties? How many buyers get into contract? How many buyers closed? And the same thing for sellers. Then you can go through and put all those numbers. I'm going to give you some spreadsheets here. I'll give you some worksheets here. But you're going to have all that information. So all you have to do is plug and play. What's your average sales price? Everybody's going to have a different average sales price. You might even have a different sales price. So we do, the vast majority of our work is done in Orange County and in the Coachella Valley. So I have numbers for both areas because they're not the same market. Right? So if I know what that tells me, going back to the very top or the last screen, from my P&L, where do I spend most of my time, where do I spend most of my money, where do I spend most of my budget? Right? I have one agent that's local here who said to me that she's spending 80% of her budget on Zillow ads and does 80% of her business from her database. I think we got a problem here. But if she wasn't tracking that, we wouldn't know that, right? So now you go and cut back on the Zillow spending and add to your database events, right? Have a happy hour. We talked about that before, parties for profit. Find different happy hours, find different nonprofit events. Those are probably the cheapest way to do an event. Right? If I do an event, Bob, you know this for sure, right? Events can be very expensive. We did some events at Pinball Land, and it cost us a couple $1,000s a night, right? You have to pay for the venue, you pay for the food, you pay for the alcohol, you pay for whatever. Right? We've got an event coming up. The fire chief of the city of Anaheim is retiring. It's going to cost me $375 for a table. Right? So now I get to bring 8 people with me, or I can buy 2 tables, they don't mind. Right? Database events. Right? So those are just some different areas. What's your average commission? Do you know what it is? Now, here's another one. I mean, don't go and just think that you know the answer. You want to look at your numbers. You say, well, I never list anything for under 3%. What about concessions? Right? How many did you do double siding? Right? Is it closer to 2.6, 2.7, 2.4? Whatever your number is, we need to know what those numbers are. How many leads are you generating? You're not getting that 40 a month? Well, what do we need to do to make that happen? I get 10 a day right now from Facebook. 10 a day. Okay, these are just different programs. Are they all converting? No. But do they all get a phone call, a text, an email? Yes. Do they all get put into some sort of a drip campaign? Yes. Are they all in the same place? No. Some of them are on our Get Mortgage Ready program because we know they're not going to buy for 6 months because their credit sucks. But you don't need to be calling them back if we know their credit sucks. I don't even call them back. I have part of our team call them back, right? Because that's part of, remember we talked about the doctor and nurse, right? The doctor doesn't come in to put the Band-Aid on, right? It's not really needed. Somebody else can do that. So you need to understand that part of it. So how many leads are you generating, but how many leads are you needing? What is that closing percentage? Where'd the leads come from? Right? I'm spending all my money on Zillow, but my leads are coming from Facebook. Maybe I need to change my budgeting a little bit, right? But again, it all goes back to tracking and understanding all of these things. So the next year, your success is gonna come from these two areas, the marketing plan and your time management plan. Anybody come up with an idea better than where things are gonna come from the next couple of years? Is there anything missing off of that? Right? You gotta understand all of those different items. And if you look on here, I've give you a place to fill in every number that we've just talked about. You might have to go and do a little bit of research on it, right? Your CRM might have it, your brokers might have it, some of it you can probably get from your title companies, right? I'm looking at doing some business with a group out in Palm Desert. I didn't have to ask them what their revenue numbers are, or what their sales numbers are, and how much business they do per agent. Title company will give that to you. That's one of the things that I recommend on all instances, and I know there's several people here from First Team, they probably won't like to hear this if the management heard me say it, but your partners need to help you grow your business, right? If they're not helping you, when I worked at Merrill Lynch, they wanted us to sell Merrill branded products. And I said, okay, as long as Merrill's helping me grow my business, I'll sell Merrill branded products. Right, but when I had an American Advisors person come in and say, here's some things that might help you grow your business. Well, if it was suitable, we would look at their products for people. Same thing with your title company, your escrow company. I mean, I had a escrow officer, or a title officer, 2-3 years ago when I was doing a bunch of reverse mortgage work. She sent me a whole bunch of prospective people that were target rich, so to speak. They'd owned their houses over a certain amount of time. They had a certain amount of equity in their properties. So you can kind of extrapolate their age. Now, if you've owned your house for 40 years, you can guess that you might be over 60 years old, right? Just a guess. But those people can help you grow your business. If they're not helping you grow your business, you might want to find out why. What do you want your business to look like at the end of next year? Has anybody sat down and thought about that? I want to do X number of transactions, I want to make X amount of money, I want to work X amount of days, I want to have X amount of vacation time. Right? If you don't know these things, how do you know where you're going? Right? I want to have a team. Right? I don't want to have to do everything. So I'm going to have a team that's going to help me do all these different things. So you've got the information right on the paperwork there to know what is your one-year vision. Anybody ever see Chapman College in 1990? Or 85?
Some people in this room weren't even born, Ron.
Sorry, Robert. I know you didn't see it. Right? When Jim Doty took over Chapman College, he had a vision that he wanted to make it into a university, and he wanted to have X number of buildings, and he wanted to have a law school, and he wanted to have a world-class law school. He wanted to have a world-class economics department. He wanted to have a world-class studio. And he wanted to do it by certain time frames, 5-year plan, 10-year plan, 20-year plan. Everybody in the entire school, all the faculty, all the staff, knew what that goal was. Everybody. They were all on the same page. They were all working to the same thing. So when Vernon Smith became available, and he had won a Nobel Prize in economics from at the University of Chicago, they went and paid him $2 million to bring his team to Chapman. Chapman had a great reputation at the time, but when they added Vernon to the team, it brought them up that much higher. So everybody knew what the 5-year plan is. Do you know what your 5-year plan is? Some people might say, something, I want to be retired in 5 years. Okay, fine. Do you know what you need in the bank to do that? Are you on the way? Right? Those are all things. So what is your 1-year plan? What is your 5-year plan? Maybe even a 10-year plan. Right? Those are all different items. So when you're looking at those plans, how many deals do you want to have closed by the end of the year? Right? What's your sales volume going to be? Now, I'm a numbers guy, right? I've talked about that before. I have people say to me, well, I need to do X number of transactions a year. Well, that's a good issue, but I don't know of anybody here that gets paid on transactions. Does anybody here get paid on transactions? Or do you get paid based on a percentage of the volume? Anybody awake? Right? Get paid on the volume, right? So you need to know the number of transactions times your average sale to get into these numbers. But if you go out and sell a $50 million piece of property, Is that gonna change what you might do for the year?
Yes.
Right, because your volume, you have to know that. How many people is it gonna take to do all that? Do you know how many people, if you wanna do 50 transactions, how many people do you need? Anybody have a good rule of thumb? Probably got that one right. Basically, it's one person for every 36 sites. That's the rule of thumb. The first thing you wanna do is an admin, right? That way you're not doing the things you don't wanna do and you can go do more prospecting. What is your net income? What is your savings goals? We talked about those things. Again, same things for 5 years. There should be a spot in here that you can put all that data in your packets. Right? Again, we're just following right through the packet there. If you're doing more than one transaction a year, you're probably going to have a business flow chart. Now this one just so happens to be from one of the mastermind sessions that I'm in. And this gal did $1 million net income after everything, W-2 or tax return AGI in 2011. Right, so obviously it's going to be a higher number now based on just on transactions. But it gives you a flow chart of everything that needs to be done, right? And it's all in the categories that we talked about. Marketing systems, operations, finance. All those things need to be taken care of. Right? And you've got a copy of that right there in your packet. So if you flip to the next page, you're going to see we're going to start working on the business plan right now. It's one of the things I shared, if you looked in the emails that I sent out, was you're going to be able to walk out of here with a business plan if you want one, knowing your income goal, your sales prices. Now most of you probably don't have this data, so you do have a blank piece of paper, so you don't have to go back and try and create all this. I'll send you a spreadsheet, but we do have one. Does everyone have that sheet in front of you?
Yeah.
Okay, so go to income goal. And I don't know if maybe this is high for some people, maybe it's low for others. Hypothetically, you want to earn $200,000 a year, average sales price of $175,000. You can probably tell that my team that makes this up, that I mastermind with this, is not in Southern California, right? So you might have to double some of these numbers. So maybe you want to earn $400,000, you want to, and your average sales price is $350. It's just easy math, right? Average gross per side, 3%. Average gross commission, $5,250. Are you seeing where all that is? Does that make sense to everybody? It's just taking that 175 times 3%. You guys find that?
Which one is that?
So if you go to the real estate agent business plan example. So we're looking at sales income goal of $200,000 with a 175 average sales price, 3% commission.
Oh, okay.
That gives you a gross commission of $5,250. And that's just taking that 175 times 3%.
Right.
This particular example, they get a 70% split. I don't know what your split is. That means they're making $36.75 per side per transaction based on that 175 average sales price. They have to pay a franchise fee of $199 in addition to their split. So you take that off. You get $34.26 is the amount they're making there. Doing the math here, you're going to take that $200,000 divided by $34.26 to tell you how many transactions you need to do, how many sides you need to do. So you want to do 59 sides. Okay, the next part of that is, do you close every transaction that you start? Most of us don't. Most of us aren't perfect. Some are. So if you assume that you have a 20% fallout, that says you need to do 74 sides. You have to start 74 sides to get to the 59 closings at that $34.26 average price to get to the $200,000 a year income goal. You with me? Did I lose anybody? I mean, you don't count because we don't. I'll do it with you.
Yeah, that's right, I'm an hourly employee.
Yeah, the highest rated salary employee.
That's what I'm not talking today.
Sorry. Okay, so-
No,
We
this,
invited you though.
I know, I love these numbers, this is so awesome, because you can really,
It just works right back
Price
into
any
getting you
business.
exactly where, you know, the whole idea is to know where you're going. I use this example all the time, and I am not a shopper, right? I don't I hate going to the mall. I wish they had I woke Jenny up by saying going to the mall. I'm sorry about that.
exactly.
You know, I wish they had that big billboard that's inside the door. I wish that was in the parking lot. Because I hate going to the mall, and I don't want to try. I always end up going into the wrong door, right? So I end up having to walk all the way down to the other end. But when you go in the door, they've got that big map thing in front, right? You are here, and then you have to try and figure out where the heck you want to go. Well, that's what this is doing right here. This tells us where we need to go. We want to get a $200,000 income goal. In this example, you need 74 started sites, 59 of them closed. It just tells us where we need to go. That's our roadmap. How many prospects do we need to get to those goal numbers? So if you're assuming that you're doing 50-50 listings and sale, then and I know they're going to change the names of those to something that's more understandable for lenders and people that aren't in the industry, right? So I think in January the new contract's going to say sellers and buyers instead of listing and selling, right? So that's the way I understand it. I'm just a lender guy. But calculating how many prospects you need. Listings sold, if you're going 50-50, percentage of listings 37, that's half of that 74, right? Then we're coming down, listings that must be taken. Again, every time you go on a listing presentation, do you close that listing? Do you list the property? Most people don't get 100%. So if you get 100%, then you're going to move that right back down to line K. But if you close 70%, then you're going to put on there 53 starts or 53 presentations to get 37. And you're just going to work, how many do you need per week? 48 a week, right? So listing presentation, or 48 per year, divide by 12, so you got to go out on 4 listing presentations to work all those numbers up to the top. Then when you break it down like that, you start saying, wow, I need to go out on 4 listing presentations per week. And my number one job is to prospect and convert, right? What else are we doing? Right? Some people are doing 4 a day, right? It's a whole process of how good you are, and and what your goals are. Escrows needed 37, buyer prospects needed 185, because we don't probably close as many buyers from the leads as we do, right? I don't know, most people don't close as many buyer side as you close listing side. So you just put your numbers in there. Number of weeks worked, 48 most. You want 4 weeks vacation? So you need 4 buyers a week. Right? So we're just working the numbers. And when you work the numbers like this, does it make sense to everybody that it gets easier when you start looking at small numbers? Right? You start saying, well, I need to earn $200,000. I need to earn $300,000. I need to earn $400,000. Whatever your number is, I don't care. Right? But if you're starting out with these massive numbers, you start saying, how do I eat the elephant? Well, it's one bite at a time. Right? I have that conversation on radio. I had the mayor of Anaheim in, and he's talking about the city lost $260 million when they canceled the Disney Hotel. So most of us don't understand $260 million. How do I comprehend what that means? Well, I can comprehend the fact that as part of that, Disney contributes $743 to my household every year. Right? If they weren't in the city of Anaheim, I'd have to come up with $743 a year more in my expenses, in my electric, because of the subsidies that they do. And I can understand $743. It's easier than $80 million a year that they're giving to the general fund. Does that make sense? So that's why we want to know all of these different numbers. And it gets to where we talked about earlier, getting into building our dashboard. The dashboard becomes just an idea of knowing what are our goals, our income goal per month, our leads per month, our closings per month. Oh, I have this on the screen here. All those different numbers. This is our goal sheet, right? And if you put this goal sheet into your bottom drawer, nothing's going to happen with it. take this goal sheet, put the numbers in, use a felt pen, you know, just like I asked Mindy to use it, don't use these fancy pens here, right, when she's making a name tag. Mostly because I'm old and I can't see it, right? So if you use a felt pen and put your numbers here and put it on the wall in front of you somewhere where everybody can see it, and you can, more importantly, you can see it, right? Then it's going to be more likely that you're going to remember, hey, did I get my goal? I needed to have 8 buyer transactions or 8 seller transactions this month. Did I accomplish that? If the answer is no, we don't get excuses. You didn't do your job. It's just a plain and simple thing, and it's not for my benefit, it's for your benefit, it's for your family's benefit. You can just say, okay, in the month of November, I didn't get the 4 buyers, I didn't get the 4 sellers, I didn't do my job. Does that mean you cry about it? No. You might be upset, but that means you gotta work twice as hard in December, and even though there's a holiday there, you gotta talk to more people. Because the people that are out there hustling in December are gonna have a much better January than the people that are sitting on their tail end in December. Right, because if you haven't talked to anybody in December, what's your pipeline gonna look like in January? February might be decent because you might go back to work, right? So keep that dashboard right in front of you so you know whether you've got to where you wanna be. I mean, we have to figure out why this thing keeps doing
I
it.
know, and you know what, for next time, I'm gonna get the TV raised and straightened, because it's driving me crazy. Sorry.
So 3 rules for building a business. Prospecting, 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 right? Have I nailed that one enough? Prospect. You know, December can be one of your greatest prospecting months,
God, no kidding.
right? How difficult it is, easy for me to say, how difficult is it to have go to an event a day from Thanksgiving to Christmas? Right, I mean, Mindy and I were looking at our calendar, going from, starting this week, I think, we've got things going on every weekend and almost every day, right? The more we do that, if people know what your business is, if you're sharing that with them, sharing what your mission is, sharing what your vision is, right? Are we in the business of selling real estate, or are we in the business of making family dreams come true?
Both.
Right. Well, our money comes from the selling the real estate. But if we worry about the family dreams more than we worry about selling real estate, we're going to be far better off, right? The money will follow. Any major investor or business owner or individual I've ever come across said they do what they do because they like what they do, and the money just seems to flow. I was with another person last night at this event, and he said, I stopped prospecting about 6 years ago, and he still does a lot of transactions. He said, I'm involved in all my different charity events, and the people just know that that's what I do, and they know that I'm a real estate professional, right? So that's where his business comes from. Does your team cater to your clients? Do you cater to your clients? I talked about this a few months ago. I've got a spreadsheet that I call the village sheet. I want my clients, the families that we help and the agents that we help, to know they can call me for anything, right? And some of the requests are so far off the wall, you'd be shocked. I mean, I got one today. Do you know a land surveyor? No, but I didn't tell them no. I called 3 title people and said, I need a land surveyor, because they have to know that kind of stuff, right? So by the time we get done here, I'm sure I'll have a land surveyor, and I'm gonna call that real estate agent back and say, yeah, sure, of course I know a land surveyor. Here's the person's name. I might even have 2 or 3 of them for them, right? So catering to your clients. If they remember to call you, I was at a conference, Minnie and I were at a mortgage conference last month?
Yep, already.
Yeah, last month, and I said, one of the biggest goals we all have is to have a client for life, right? If you want to have a client for life, you better talk to them during their life, right? Works much better that way. I want them to call me if they want a painter. I want to call me if they need a plumber, if they need an air conditioning person, an electrician. I don't even know what side of a screwdriver to use, right? But I can use that village sheet, and I've got all of them on there.
What do you do when you have a client, there was a pain, you know where, and you don't want to work with them anymore, and they're still calling you?
I'm too busy. What happens when when you call a doctor that doesn't want to see you?
They always do.
No. One of the things that we're talking about is we understand how we need to have enough leads. Sorry, I'm busy. Because I have clients that I don't want to work with.
Oh,
I have
you do?
agents that I don't want to work with.
I was thinking there was just me.
No, everybody does. We all have people that we get along with. We have people that we don't get along with. We have people that we enjoy spending time with. If you develop enough leads, that's one of the biggest benefits of having a lot of leads, is you can get to the point of saying, you know something, I don't want to work with Daryl, right? Woke him up even. No, I'm serious. He might say, hey, you know something, I don't like bald guys. He might say he doesn't want to work with me. Right? The whole idea here is to have enough. All right, there's so much business out there. Right? We got a bunch of people in the room and we're all in the same business, right? Almost everybody here is a realtor, right? Is there really competition? To a certain extent, but not really. Right? Some people might relate to Curtis, some people might relate to Daryl, some people might relate to Bob. Right? They might not relate to me.
Yeah.
So we're not really competing with anybody.
I don't think so either. I think so the
Now you know what the other thing is?
Mhm.
If you have somebody that you really don't want to work with,
Uh-huh.
you know something? Robert, I just really don't think that we're a great fit, but I think Curtis can help you. Right? You might find somebody
I do that with Jenny all the time.
that meshes. Right? You know what I'm saying? If you've got a lot of folks, then refer them to somebody that might be a better fit. Because they might think that person's the greatest person in the world. I've got a partner that comes to some of my events, and he's dealing with the agent in South County. When they were introduced, I said, thank goodness it's you and not me, because I know him. And they did probably a dozen transactions together, and all of a sudden he said, now I know what you're talking about. They want to micromanage everything. Why didn't the disclosures get back to you within 10 minutes? I don't know why they didn't get back to me in 10 minutes. Why didn't the appraisal come out on 15 pages instead of 14 pages? Right? I don't know those things. And it was just a micromanaging issue, and I've done this for 30 years, so I kind of have an idea of what I'm doing. Right? It wasn't a good fit. Now he's finding out. He'll probably introduce him to some other lender, and you know they'll burn through them. If you've got enough leads, you don't have to worry about that. Right? GPS your business plan. Everyone familiar with GPS? Right? I tried to get my son Mitchell, who was here before. You guys might have this also. We've got this app called Life 360. So I go to a business meeting the other day, or I'm going to lunch, and I'm over at Reunion, and Mitchell sends me a text message. Who are you at Reunion with, Dad? He's tracking me on the GPS. Right? Knows exactly where I am at all times. Mindy says, you know something, you guys are not getting me on that app. No way in heck. Right? But for some people, it's a real benefit. I mean, I have a friend of mine, her son was in a car accident. It really helped knowing where exactly he was because of that. He's a brand new driver, right? So we want to GPS our business plan, right? We want to be on track with it at all times. Prospecting. This gets to exactly what we were just talking about, Sully. Creating more leads than you can handle. When you create more leads than you can handle, when you've got that person that you don't want to work with, you can refer them off to somebody else, and you do it with a smile, right? I think Curtis might be a lot better for you to deal with than me. You know, he's a great guy. I like him, right? And you hope that they have a great relationship together. He may not want to work with that person, but that then is for them to decide. But now you're a great person because you referred somebody to someone else,
Yeah.
right? You're not saying that, I think this is an SOB, right? We're not saying that. We're just saying we may not fit together. You might need me to work at 11, but I have to take my son to school at 11. So we can't work together. Maybe Curtis is available at 11, right? So we want to know what's happening on our business at all times. What is our closing ratio? We've got to have that on our dashboard all the time. We need to know, are we getting better at what we do? Are we getting better with our craft? Or are we slacking? Right? I've got a meeting tomorrow with my Facebook engineers, right? We're getting 8 to 10 leads a day from Facebook. I want to see what we can do better to make this, you know, how can I send those off in a more automated manner to the real estate people that we work with, right? I know that we call them, we text them, and we email them all within 5 minutes, right? Or sometimes even quicker than that. But we want to make sure that we're always honing our skills. What can we do better to enhance our mission and enhance the consumer experience? And again, it goes back to knowing all of our issues: closing ratio, monthly leads, monthly closings. I told you about doing a profit and loss every month. That's part of your profit and loss, right? Are you getting every one of those on there? And what are your marketing strategies? What are your marketing strategies by month? Right? I mean, if you don't know what you're going to do each month, it probably would not be smart to have a Christmas party in February. Might not work too well, right? But you may be going out, you know, I borrowed this idea. So you guys all have a jar opener. An agent friend of mine.
So stupid, you guys, I don't like it, I'm gonna be honest. And that's on video now, and I don't care.
So I have an agent friend of mine in South Orange County, does a tremendous amount of business.
She does,
And
I'll give her that.
one of the favorite giveaways that she does every single year, been doing it for about 20 years now, is at Thanksgiving time, is jar openers. Right? When are you opening more jars than on
So
Thanksgiving?
this is what it is?
Yeah.
See?
I was thinking there was a cost there.
Thank
Ay,
you.
Well,
ay, ay, ay,
Thank
ay.
you.
So,
We appreciate your input, everybody,
so if you demonstrate, don't call me Vanna White.
Yes.
clearly.
Put that on top.
Oh, but now I like it.
Don't say that to Mindy because she'll get mad and think that I came up with a good idea.
Yeah, it's the size of a baby jar, good point, way to go, Jonathan. Don't get any
Jonathan,
ideas.
you're big enough that you don't need a jar opener. Someone, you know.
I give them
Strong enough, big enough, whatever.
Exactly.
I
Right?
do, I need it.
But
Take
this is
two, they're small size.
this is a November giveaway. You have to plan in advance. So what are your marketing strategies? That's where I was going with that whole discussion. I know I like to go over here. Now, those people that enjoy this, what do you think they're going to do with it?
Use it as a coaster?
You know something? I hope
Thank you,
so.
Robert.
Robert,
Because then you're looking at it all the
then
time.
you're looking at it all the time.
Exactly, yes.
So if you want to use it as a coaster, fine. Your mama use it as a jar opener. Take two, and that way you can each use it as a coaster, and you can each use a jar opener.
Yeah, for me going to be great because I have this needle, you know,
Right.
so it's perfect.
Exactly.
Sorry, Mindy.
It's okay, as long as you continue to do transactions, you can take as many as you want.
Right. So it's part of the marketing. So that what I was getting to with that was marketing strategies. Right. Last month we gave away pumpkin stress balls. Now I did have to call an attorney because Curtis is suing me now because I hit him with one of
God
them.
forbid.
Was it Curtis or Jonathan? One of you guys told
One
me
of them.
that I was in trouble because I threw this soft stress ball.
Oh, and I was giving
Jonathan's
the
my
deal
attorney.
Jonathan's your attorney, okay. Right? Someone said their dog really likes them. I don't
What are
care.
you going to give for Christmas? Maybe I can.
Yeah, could we talk about that before?
Maybe
'Cause
I can
am in
steal
charge of
your
marketing
ideas.
department, remember, Jonathan?
Fully decorated Christmas trees? That's so nice.
Yeah,
No.
the Jewish guy's giving away Christmas trees.
That's why you don't need them.
Maybe we will make a donation to one of the charities that sell poinsettias or the wreaths or something.
We'll do something like that. Remember, we'll have a giveaway for next month also, just because it's just part of marketing strategies. The more we do to give away
And
You
help
know,
people.
pens, however they remember you, I don't care how that people remember well, as long as it's positive. Right? Sometimes we don't want it, but what are your marketing strategies, and do you have a plan for that? And make sure you're doing it several months out. Right? My son, I don't buy this stuff from my son, but he sells it. Right? And I said to him, because he just got started with the company, it's very new. So I said, if you want to have the easiest sale in the world, is come up with something like this 3 months in advance and go to every real estate office and say, I've got 3 different items for Valentine's Day, right? Because what do we all want? Easy, right? If I don't have to think about it, I said to him the same thing. If you tell me what I can do for Valentine's Day, I'll order it from you because I don't wanna have to think. And he's a specialist in it, or he will be, right? Jonathan, you guys probably have it at the title company, right? It's something that you can give away for whatever time's coming up. Title companies are known for that kind of thing.
Well, I want his business card.
Who?
Yeah, my son,
All
I'll
right.
send it to you right now.
Yeah, well, but see what I'm saying? These are the strategies we need to have going out into the future. Build a team. Again, I've shared with you that I am, what was the word, not time challenged, but I time judicious. 80% of the work gets done by my team. Right, I like to have the initial discovery call with clients, figure out what we need to do for them, because once I determine that we're doing a stated income loan, now the team understands what's involved in doing a stated income loan. Right, so they collect the appropriate documents, and they make sure that the documents that we don't want in the file don't get into the file. Right, so they're doing 80% of the work after we have that initial call. You should be doing the same thing. I only know of one person that I've come across that's real successful in real estate that does not use a transaction coordinator. Everybody else uses a transaction coordinator, right? They're doing a lot of the work. You're out there going and finding the next deal. That also is called stress relief.
No, but you know what? I always emphasize to especially to the new people, you know, that they has to know the contract. They has to read it. They has to know what their client signed.
Sure.
You're going to go to a presentation and they're going to ask you something and you don't know.
You're 100% correct there. But once the contract is signed, I don't have to be the one that's checking to make sure that all the disclosures were initialed in the right spot. Right, I can have the transaction coordinator do check and make sure that the initials are in the right spot, the names are in the right spot. I have an agent that I work with. In fact, we just made an offer on a piece of property in Palm Desert, right? And I told him what I wanted to offer on the property. He said, fine, my transaction coordinator will get you the contract.
But you know what? You are Jewish, right?
Yes.
I work with a lot of Jews. The company of my husband, the two owners, the main owners are Jewish. Half of the people over there is Jewish. They don't want me to send my transaction coordinator. They
That
want
has nothing
me
to do with being
there.
Jewish. It's about, no, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, that is irrelevant. It's the culture in which you set the tone, and I know Ron's in charge of the meeting and I'm in the marketing department, but I'm highly sensitive to this.
No, but we're learning, you know?
Yeah, we
It's a
are
learning
learning, we're
experience,
all
yes.
learning.
Yeah.
What you need to do, the way you deal with that is you always, you have, every transaction is gonna be a little bit different. But the way that I talk about it is, if I'm doing a transaction with Jenny, I'm setting up right from the very beginning the expectations, right? I'm gonna talk to you about the initial program that we're gonna set up. But throughout the course of the transaction, there are people that are better qualified on my team to do certain parts of the transaction. If you call me to ask me what the status is of XYZ loan condition, I have to call Kathy to get that information. And then I'll call you back with that information. Or, here's Kathy's number, we set that up at the very beginning. She's not calling me to get Kathy's number. I'm saying at the very beginning, throughout the transaction, if you have questions about the documentation or underwriting or the appraisal or escrow questions, you can call me anytime you want to. But if you want more efficiency, Kathy's number is right here. Because regardless of what somebody does, if our team, I told you, we respond to every inquiry, text, email, and phone call within 5 minutes, every lead. Now, I've been here for about 1 hour and 7 minutes. Nobody's seen me check my phone, right? But those things are still happening even though I'm here. So the answer to you is you have to educate your client as to how to work the best. Right? Call the doctor's office and try and set an appointment. I got to talk to Dr. Jones because I need an appointment. Dr. Jones doesn't know what's on the calendar, right? Same with you. When you build your business, you're building your business so that people have the right expectations of your business, right? I've dealt with Bob for a long time, right? He's probably not going to be the one that's doing the photography, right? Do you do photography?
Sometimes I do.
Right, for the most part,
I
I mean,
take lots of pictures though, don't I?
yeah, you take a lot of
They're
pictures.
all over Facebook and
But,
Instagram.
but you've had some, you probably didn't paint that little, car that you have running around Newport Beach either,
No.
right? But he knew the strategy, he knew what he wanted, and the work got done. I mean, it probably took him, 30 years of experience and 10 minutes of time to realize that he wanted that vehicle or that promotional tool for his business. 80% was done in trying to get it accomplished. Somebody probably went and shopped for it and brought him back the specs, and he said, yeah, this is the one I want. I don't want the 4-seater, I want the 6-seater, right? I don't want it to be a half a mural, I want a whole mural, right? And then they figured out how to do all that stuff, right? So he's got to do that. He's got his team. He's developed a team to do all the things. Because I mean, if you look at the mural, it'll show that there's 10 people part of the team, or 8 people, or whatever the number is, right? You can't be everywhere. If you want to grow and scale, if you want to do 1 transaction a month, you can probably do it all yourself. How much staff do you have now? How much staff do you need? I told you earlier, basically the first thing you really want to do as quick as you can afford it is an admin. Right? That way they can set your appointments, you show up. I'm really good at showing up to reunion for lunch as often as I can. Right? And having a meeting with some people to figure out how we can help grow businesses. So, and then from there, it's ramping up so you can deliver the amount of service you need. Now, I'll tell you that if you're dealing with a multi-million-dollar properties, you're going to probably need less staff than your $190,000 property, right? Because he's probably got to call the CPA. The guy that's buying the house probably doesn't want to talk to him. He says, yes, I want that house. Yes, I'll agree to whatever the negotiations are. Call my CPA or my CFO or whatever, and they'll get you the rest of the information that you need, right? And they've done it before, so it's not their first rodeo. You're holding somebody's hand on that $190,000 transaction, so you may need more staff, right? If you're going to do 40 or 50 transactions, all in manufactured housing, you're going to probably need more staff than he's going to need in multi-million-dollar properties, right? But he probably had a lot more staff when he was doing foreclosures and the short sales, right?
I had 2 negos and 2 TCs and 1 admin. I had 5 people just helping me list homes.
Yeah.
That was it.
Right.
5 people for my 1 team.
So, but again, he had to know the numbers of what he needed to accomplish where he wanted to go. What are the positions to hire, right? So he just told you what his focus was. Admins, TCs, him. Do you know what you need, right? And we've got some of those things in here. Talked about that earlier, the team meeting every day, same time every day. That way your staff all knows when that team meeting is. I'm gonna recommend doing it early, right? If you do a lot of breakfast appointments, you might wanna have that team meeting at 9 o'clock every day. If you don't do the breakfast appointments, do it at 8 o'clock. I know realtors don't like to get up at 8 o'clock, but you might wanna do it early and get it done. That way the rest of your staff knows that, you know something, I'm gonna talk to Sully at 8 o'clock, I'll be able to call you back at 9 o'clock. Right? They can set that expectation with people. How much money do you need to retire? I need a lot.
Me too.
Mindy likes to shop, right? And I like toys. So it's obvious. So know what the end result is. Robert, you're the best one here because you're young. Right? So you've got a lot of time on your hands, so you don't need to save as much as Bob and I did. Right? We don't even want to talk about Curtis.
Yeah, he's got daughters, can you imagine how expensive that is?
Daughters, yes. I got sons, that's bad enough. Sorry, Robert. Okay, cash assets, taxable income, do you know where you are? Do you know how much you're saving? Putting away each month? Average business expenses, do you have a budget of what you're gonna spend per listing? Right, you might say that if I've got a $500,000 house, I'm gonna budget 10% of my commission, 20% of my commission to marketing. Whatever your number is. Now, obviously, you're gonna have differences, right? You're gonna have different events, right? Bob had a major league party at one of his properties to introduce it, right? I mean, God only knows what it must have cost because of DJ and food and alcohol and everything else. But you know something, if you're trying to sell a $5 million house, you can't put out hot dogs and potato chips,
I know.
right? There's a lot of people right in this area that are, right now especially, wine and cheese parties. You got a property with a view,
But you know what? I've been having because I sold also a very expensive home, and they were asking, to sell wine. And I refused because I'm thinking, what about somebody overdrinks and have an accident? And
Oh, good point.
so what do you do? See, it's something that I don't drink, okay?
But I do, Celine,
Yeah,
and
no, but
I'm
you know
proud
what?
of it.
Yeah, but I have a family members. They do one glass of wine
Right,
over there. I
right.
never have seen them drunk, but I
Right.
have been on parties that I know when
Absolutely.
people is tipsy. So accident, what do?
You just have to be real cautious of it. Who's
Talk about it after.
who's manning the bar?
Do you make it a dead sign?
Well, we're working on doing an event over at Reunion. We're gonna give out 2 drink tickets for every person.
When's that event?
Let's go.
No, everybody here will be welcome,
Yeah.
absolutely.
When is it?
Yeah.
No, but Sully,
Not-
we can
about
talk
an
about
hour.
that
About
after.
an
We can talk
Right,
about that.
there's a lot of those things that are you have to concentrate, focus on that. But you know something, we were at an event where, I don't remember where we were just at, but they had wine glass, they served wine. Number one was plastic glasses, so
Oh,
no-
that was horrible.
most wine is
right,
not real
Jonathan?
good in a plastic glass. And then it was like a 3-ounce glass.
Yeah, but it was cops for kids, so.
No, that's what it was.
Anaheim
It was the cop,
Confidential.
yeah, it was Anaheim Confidential, right?
And the
So they,
lines were out the door.
right, so,
unless you know
so you don't make it real easy for somebody to
Yes.
get a lot of alcohol. So that's kind of
You're
where
right.
it is. So, again, counting the money, that's all your budget stuff. We talked about that a little bit. Put your budget, make your budget so you understand every one of the items that you're needing to do to get to your goals, right? How many hours a week? We've done and if you weren't here for it, we did a time management class. I think we've got it on video, right? Understanding time blocking. Get your calendar set up, take your vacations, mark it off on there so that everybody on your team and you can budget your time around it. Hey, I'm gonna take a week off around July 4th. Now, one of the things I heard at one of the events that I went to was, and it has to do with real estate. A lot of people say, well, if I'm going on vacation, I'm gonna leave on Saturday, I'll come back on the following week on Sunday. Well, now that's actually 4 days of your prime selling days off, right? If you work weekends. Wednesday to Wednesday is a full week too. Right, so just think about that concept. So again, time blocking, and these are all the issues that we've talked about in the past. It's on the bottom of your sheet here. Face-to-face meeting, break breads, phone conversations. That doesn't mean, notice when I say phone conversations, we're not talking about voicemail, right? That's not a conversation. So if I call Curtis and he's got me blocked, I can't count that, right? I've got to talk to him, that's a conversation. Lunch and learns, right? You can do lunch and learns too, right? I mean, I do them every month. I do one here and one in Palm Desert. But I've got a whole thing. There's a Society of Financial Advisors, nonprofit organization. They've got some great marketing materials, but you can call them and they can have somebody come out and do a credit repair workshop for you. They can do a retirement workshop. You can get Medicare, Medicaid workshops. Do you have your birthday programs? Are you calling people when their birthday, or are you sending an email or text message? Right, again, if you want a client for life, you got to talk to them during their life. So again, on your dashboard, are you hitting those goals? Right, I've given you a track your prospecting activities every week. I can send any of these things if you want, put on that survey, send forms electronically. Right, just put it on the survey and somebody will do it. Right, Mindy? Right, so we'll send you the survey, tracking your prospecting results. How do you know if you're getting better if you're not tracking it? Right? Are you asking for the referral? Are you asking how your team is doing? Right? Take the temperature. Do you want to get to the closing table and find out that your client hates you? Right? And thinks you did a horrible job? Would not go real well asking for a referral at that time period, would it? Right? So if you ask them on your weekly call, which needs to be done every week, right? Preferably on the same day, so when you have your listing appointment or your buyer's meeting consultation, you say, every Tuesday you can expect a call from me before noon. Right now, what are they expecting? A call before noon. You got to do it, right? Or else you break confidence. I don't like to tell anybody that I return calls 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I have this thing about after I've had a couple of martinis, I don't want to talk numbers. Probably is not going to end well, right? So I don't want to set that expectation. If I tell you that I don't answer my phone after 7 p.m. and you call me and get my voicemail, did I keep my expectation? Did I keep my promise to you? Yes. If you call me at 11 o'clock at night and I answer the phone, are you expecting me to answer the phone at 11 o'clock the next time? Yes. If I don't do it, I broke your expectation. I start at 4:30 every morning. If you want to call me at 5 a.m., I have no problem with it. I've had meetings with people that are moving into Southern California, and I had a guy, I was out in Palm Desert, Minnie and I were out there, and he's moving to California from Florida. I said, if you want to meet at 8 o'clock your time on a video conference, more than happy to do it. But you're going to meet me at 8 o'clock Eastern time? Sure.
Oh, yes, you did.
Just part of the day, right? But set those expectations in advance so people understand that you're keeping your commitment to them. Track everything. That's your GPS, your dashboard again. So your greatness tracker, I think we've got a greatness tracker in here. We usually give you a greatness tracker. That comes from, I think CORE is the group that provides that greatness tracker. It's in there somewhere. If not, I'll send it to you. So you can find out if you did your face-to-face meetings on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. If you didn't do it, did you do your job? No. Right? And how do you know if you did your job or didn't do your job? It's your review. The greatness tracker is your review. So there's your plan for prospecting. You want a real easy plan to get all your prospecting done. That gives it to you right there. If you do that, if you follow that plan, I defy you not to be successful, not to meet your goals. I have 15 face-to-face meetings every week. 5 break breads. Do you think people are going to have a meal with you if they hate you? Well, unless it's a reunion, I call Bob and he'll go with me. Right? Generally, people are not going to go to a meal with somebody they don't like. So set up those break breads, phone conversations. Prospecting, it's our #1 goal. Are you spending half your time prospecting every week? Or more than half your time prospecting? The average is 4 hours a week for realtors. 4 hours a week. NAR stats, not mine. 21 hours prospected. Thank you cards, they're not that difficult. This Costco doesn't have them. The one over at the district has a great thank you cards. Pack of 24 for 15 bucks. Right? Not that difficult. 10 leads a week. Right? That's our goal. We got to see if we meet it. 3 deals a week. 3 deals a week.
God,
Anybody
that'd be amazing.
Anybody have a problem with 144 deals a year?
Nope. Nope.
Right? 3 deals a week seems like it should be doable though, right? If you work 6 days, that's 1 every other day. Right? So again, track those results. I'll give you that. Here's where your leads are coming from, and I think this is in your packet as well. We went over this in our database marketing class. Current client referral, past client referral, past clients, personal friends, family members. Right? All of those are people that you can get leads from, right? Realtor referral. Is anybody in any of the big coaching groups? Craig Proctor? Tom Ferry?
I had used Tom Ferry.
Okay.
I am with Brian Buffini.
Brian Buffini? Okay.
Oh, good, he's good.
Did you ever go to their big meetings?
Yeah.
Anybody else? Sully the only one?
I love them. I go to all of them.
Some agents that I know, they're focused their business right there on realtor referral. They have a good database of people, and out here in Orange County, you can do, that's a great one. And when you go to some of these different things, they have a business card, and on the back of their business card, I don't even know if I have a business card. I have one in my pocket. The back of their business card, they have a map of California, and they had a big pop-out window with Orange County and an arrow, and on the bottom it says 25% referral fee or 30% referral fee. It's just one of the pillars. Remember I talked about pillars of your business? That can be a pillar of your business, growing that. Business partner referral. I get 8 to 10 leads a day. I don't do any real estate, right? Business partner referral. Talk to your accounting partners, divorce attorneys. Mindy got mad at me one time when she saw that I was calling a bunch of divorce attorneys. She wondered what was going on.
No, I didn't, I was happy. Go ahead.
But that's a great
Sorry.
source, right? Think about it, every divorce has potentially 3 transactions, right? So set up time to meet with those folks. Estate planning.
Usually one will hate you with
Believe it or not, of all the people I talk to, that's the most secure office I ever go into is a divorce, as family lawyers. I mean, I've been in some of those places, they look like you're going into a bank. Business builders, referral. I have a friend of mine, in fact, we were just talking about it yesterday. I might try getting on the planning commission for the city of Anaheim,
Oh, God.
right? Why would I want to get on the planning commission for the city of Anaheim? Well, they're talking about building, well, right up there, 300 units, and a block from here, or a mile from here, 70 units. Right, as a lender, do I want that business?
Yeah.
Right? You guys may want builder business as well. Might want to talk to some of them, right? Or you might even want to have general contractors, right? If they go do a tear down in your neighborhood, right? They're doing work, they might need somebody to, flippers.
Yeah, here, show it. I did this last week. I did it, wait, hold on. Where is it? Driving around the neighborhood at Peninsula Point last week. Come on, takes forever to get to my 1,000 pictures, right? Since last week, where have I been? Oh my God.
You're a busy guy.
Don't show all those pictures.
Oh,
There's some of them that we gotta,
all of them are good. You can tell.
I didn't say they weren't good.
Anyway, I drove around the peninsula and I actually took pictures. Oh, they're there, finally. So I went and took the pictures of each one of the houses that were being built, right? And got the builder, the contractor, the architect, the whoever off of the signs.
Yeah.
Took it and gave it to my girl. I said, hey, you call them up and set up lunch meetings. Let's buy all of these people lunch.
Right?
That was it. It was simple. We were there anyways.
Right.
Driving down the street, take a picture of the houses under construction, take a picture of the architect, the builder, the
Sure,
whoever, unless they had a realtor sign on it. Even if it did, don't take that, just take the other ones.
right,
Say, hey, we'd love to list your next house, build rehab for you.
right.
One guy said, sure.
Because there's
And he was
plenty of
already there,
business
so,
out there.
so he took absolutely 0 time.
Right.
All he did is had to slow down long enough to click a picture. And he was probably driving slow in that area anyway.
Looking
Right?
close.
Think outside the box, right? Those,
Wow, you didn't just really cuss it there. That's what I'm learning to do.
no, not at all.
Okay.
Okay, so those are every one of your leads can be identified with one of those 8 codes, right? So we've got our tracker, so we know where the leads are coming from, what our income projections are. Sometimes it's nerve-wracking if you don't know where your income's coming from next month, right?
Yeah.
So it's pretty simple if you know all of your numbers. Remember, I talked to you about this, right? How many sides do we have? What's our average commission per side? 2.3 on this one. We got our total sales. It's all just straight math. And I'm going to send you, if you put on your sheet there that you want it, I'll send you the Excel spreadsheets for it, right?
Yeah, that one for sure is a good one.
Paylog. Now, I don't know about real estate. I used to be in the import-export business, and we were 100%, at one time, before I had my own warehouse, we were 100% commission. Now, you guys don't have as many transactions as we did in that world, because we would do 30, 40, 50 invoices a day sometimes. It'd be amazing how many times there was errors on commission reports. You guys ever see errors on your commission reports? Right? Track it. It's your business. Expenses, right? You got to know what your expenses are. Where's the money going to? How do you correct it if you don't know? Are you doing it? Right? Are you getting to the numbers that you want to get to? Personal family budget, right? Some of those things are gonna flow right over. All these things fit in both areas. They can either be personal, they can be business, right? I think we've got a class available, I don't know if we're gonna do it or not. It's called Counting Your Money, right? It's just to teach about those same issues. So you can deal with the family budget. I think I've got a personal budget sheet that I can send you in with the package as well. So I think I shared this with you earlier. Systematize everything, that's my world, right? I got a system for everything. In the morning I get up and I do this. Mindy knows to get out of the way at 7:45, right? My alarm on my phone goes off. I get up, I have to go get ready to get to the studio, right? Got a system for every single thing we do.
You get up from your desk and we're allowed to use the television in that room. Like,
System for your marketing plan, right? If you register for our Lunch and Learns early, you should know that you're gonna get a reminder on Monday, a reminder on Tuesday, a reminder on Wednesday, and each day it counts down, 3 days till the Lunch and Learn, 2 days till the Lunch and Learn, 1 day till
Curtis is like, enough with the emails.
3 hours till the Lunch and Learn, right? Did you forget there was a Lunch and Learn?
Yeah,
Right?
never know.
Marketing, right? Do you have a plan? Schedule everything. If it doesn't get on my calendar, I forget it. We were over at the concerts in the park. I forgot that we had something. I agreed to go do something. Unfortunately, I'd already had a couple of martinis out there, and I said, "Yeah, we'll go." Hour later, I get home and I go to put it on the calendar. And, oh sugar, I didn't look at the calendar first. They were all upset with me because I had to cancel. Right? Everything goes on the calendar. If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't get done. Delegate. One of my favorite words. Right? Delegate. Find as much as you can delegate. We're going to give this away if you haven't, if you don't have one yourself, if you haven't read it. The E-Myth, a great big book about business. So you may want to enjoy that. Anybody go to McDonald's?
Yes, I love McDonald's Diet Coke.
Okay.
French fries.
You don't, you do. Anybody go to anybody else? You're a McDonald's person. Okay, got a couple.
Right?
Right? So here's the thing about McDonald's. If you go to McDonald's over here in Savvy Ranch, or you go to McDonald's over on Tustin Avenue, can you expect to get the same thing? Is the menus different? No. They got a system, right? You know what to expect every single time. So the idea there is our marketing must be a system, especially if you're doing a referral-based business. Now, if I do a transaction with Daryl, and I send him a box of Mrs. Fields cookies to say thank you for that transaction, and Daryl says to Curtis, you know, you need to use Ron. Curtis says, yeah, I just sent him a transaction. Daryl says, hey, did you get your cookies? Curtis says, no, I didn't get any cookies. Right? Now instead of creating something that's good, I've created animosity. Right? Not the way we want to do it. So if we have a system that says on X date the cookies get sent, right, then we don't forget anything and the experience is identical. Now, who would like to have the revenue of a McDonald's? Or the value of that business? Bob, you don't go to McDonald's, right?
Hate that plan.
Okay, would you hate it if the money was going into your bank account?
You get the same thing every time.
Right?
But would you hate it if the money went into your account?
That's a freaking guaranteed business.
Right?
Nothing better.
Because it's a system. Prospecting needs to be a system. Managing your leads needs to be a system. Contract to close. If you do it the same way every single time, I've got a sheet for our Lunch and Learns. And there's a checklist that I have there for Mindy. Because, and, you know, she takes care of the whole thing. And it's got I use a sheet called Smart Sheets. It's like Excel on steroids. So I can set it up so that the Lunch and Learn date minus 40. An email goes to her and says, did you do this? Right? I don't have to remember to do it. So if you have a transaction and you put in that our contract close date is going to be November 22nd. From a lender standpoint, please look at the calendar and see if that's a Saturday, Sunday, or holiday, because we can't close on those days, right? So, but put it on your schedule and then have a system of everything that has to happen for that transaction to close on time, right? Customer service, right? What is the system? Again, I told you, if you send me a lead, right, while I'm in the middle of a Lunch and Learn, I'm not going to follow up on it. But if it goes to my team, it will get followed up on. So we've got a follow-up system. So you want to go and take a look at that book, E-Myth. There's a lot of things you can look at from McDonald's and follow the same because it's all systems. So what happens when you get a lead? Do you have a system? And does it happen the same way every time? Right? Are they getting some people go on listing appointments, right? What do you think the consumer's doing the day before? If you have an listing appointment, today's what, Thursday? If you have a listing appointment for Sunday, between now and Sunday, what do you think the consumer is doing?
Looking you up.
Are they sitting there saying, Bob's coming over on Sunday, so I'll just sit here and I don't have to do a darn thing, right? No, they're looking you up, and if I was a real estate agent, I'd be sending out some information to them about what I want them to know, right? I have a book that's a guide to buying a home, things to consider when buying your home. I'm going to send that out to them, right? Because that way I can control what they're seeing, not control, but I can guide what they're seeing, right? I want them to see stuff about me. Bob's got a great process, right? So with his process, he didn't need 5 transaction coordinators or a team of 5 because he was doing one transaction, right? Doing a lot of transactions, so he has a process that everything goes through, and it happens the same way every single time. Now, are there going to be speed bumps? Absolutely. The only difference between Bob and a speed bump and Robert with a speed bump is experience, right? He's done 1,000 transactions, so he's probably seen it before, maybe more than 1,000, right? You just did your first, that's awesome, right? You can use your mom as your guide to go over those speed bumps, right? You need a mentor to do that. I think real estate should have an internship program anyway. I think it's way too easy for people to become a realtor. It's just my thing. But throughout the process, when you get a lead, before, during, and after, right? How did you get the lead? What are you doing during the lead process or during the transaction process? And what are you doing after the program? What after the process? How are you moving your clients through that process? Do they know what to expect? Right? I tell people that you can expect that if you want to get the best information, call Kathy, right, during the process. I'm going to lunch and learn. I don't know what's happened in the last couple hours. Something might have changed. So, do you have those pillars? I told you the 4 pillars of what we're really building on, right? Earlier on, right? How we help people build their business. Here's just a few pillars for you to think about. Database marketing, home buyer events, business relationships. What are your pillars? When one goes out of season, and they always do, if you've got multiple pillars of places where you're generating business, then your business will, Facebook could go away tomorrow. If you're getting your leads from Facebook, it could go away tomorrow. I don't want my business to depend on Facebook. I don't want my business to depend on Zillow. Those people that had their businesses depending upon the Orange County Register, now you can fold that thing up. The Sunday paper can even be folded, right? When many of us started in business, the Sunday paper, you needed a forklift to carry the darn thing, right? We don't care about that if we've got enough pillars of our business. So what are your pillars? Identify them. You've got sheets in there to figure that out. So past clients, that should be a big, big pillar for you, right? That should be gold. I had a person on my show the other day, and she said, inadvertently, she said that my business is named wrong. My marketing is, my websites are all wrong. Because, and not being facetious, but her comment was really geared at, you don't have a sellable business, right? If your business is based on your name, can you sell your business?
No.
Well, but you have to be there, right? I mean,
No,
you don't think so?
no. Name some businesses that the name has been sold and the person's not here anymore.
But if the business is, if it's called Ron Siegel Radio,
So is McDonald's.
Exactly.
but
So is Noggles. So is
Noggles
I
is
want
gone.
the
No,
budget.
but
No,
Noggles
they're
got-
back.
Noggles
Yeah, they're-
got bought by Del
Right.
Taco.
But it was a brand name. It wasn't based on the individual.
Yeah, it was Dick Noggles.
I never even knew the name, and I went to it a lot of times.
I knew Dick Noggles. Well, point was, the answer is yes, most businesses, I'm sorry, I'm not going off, but
No.
most businesses are started by an individual.
Right.
That individual business somehow becomes a brand name. That brand name is then bought up by a huge conglomerate.
But,
That's
right,
how it happens.
right.
So Ron Siegel can get bought by,
Ron Siegel could, but if I had a name, Siegel Lending Team is a lot easier
sure.
to sell than Ron Siegel Lending, right?
But sometimes I think that small businesses are the answer, and
Yeah.
conglomerates are the ones that just wash away the individuality. of-
I agree
True.
with that.
No, you're right, I agree with you there,
So
but,
you can sell
but if
it.
your exit strategy is to sell your business, which way is easier for you to sell? Not if the business is all about me.
But see,
I'm
I
in
believe,
trouble.
right, and I believe like someone,
Because you're buying your book of business, you're buying your
Exactly.
contacts, you're buying your
Right,
reputation.
right. But it has to be set up as a business as opposed to an individual, a sole proprietor entity.
I don't,
Okay, well,
let's see,
there's many answers, right?
apparently.
So, but the concept, I think we're both on the same page, that we wanna build something that, the bottom line is if you ever wanna retire, you wanna build something that is transferable, right? That's the whole, I think Bob and I, I think are
Transferable,
agreeing there.
we'll go with transferable.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah, absolutely, because that's what we wanna do. So, past clients. Now, if I do a bunch of events, right, and I have my team is all at the events, it doesn't matter what we call them, because now my clients know who my team is, so that's really what the business is. Noggles, he might have been the first guy to cook, but, hell, I went to Noggles a lot of times, and I never knew there was what's his first name?
Dick, no?
Dave Noggles. Never even knew it. Of course, then again, we always went at 2 in the morning.
Yeah. Drive through window on Tustin.
Exactly, exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
right, I always pay
So,
extra.
past clients, social media marketing, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, right? Jonathan and Robert, do you guys even use Facebook anymore? Instagram, is that where you're, right, the millennials, that's where they're at, is at Instagram, so I should probably change that. Internet marketing,
I work with both.
Yeah,
I
okay,
work with Twitter, Facebook.
but what do you do with your
Instagram.
friends?
More on Facebook, I have no friends.
Really? Okay, my 3 boys are all on Instagram. I mean, and the only reason they went to Instagram is because I was on Facebook. Right? They didn't want to be there once I got there.
When I saw my dad the other day, who's 77 or 8, however old he is, he said, "Hey, thanks for sending me all those text messages the other day, the pictures of the event you went to." And I didn't say anything. What are you talking about, Dad? He goes, yeah, I got them on my, I got text, and your sister too. I said, I didn't send you anything, and I know my sister doesn't send you anything. And he goes, yeah, let me show you. He pulled it out, opened up the Facebook app. I go, Dad, it's called Facebook, not text. You're kidding? You only have 10 friends. They're your son, your daughter, and like 300 friends.
Right.
aw, that's good
So
though
for
that he's
him,
on there,
everything
yeah.
was a direct message
Yeah,
because he only has 10 friends.
right.
So everything he saw was family.
Yeah.
And
Can you
that's
imagine
it.
having everything come to you in direct message with all your connections?
I have 5,000 people on Facebook. And
Right.
5,000 people on Instagram. And
Yeah.
I mean, I just feed through it when I'm bored. But he saw them. My point is,
Yeah.
older tend to be Facebook.
Yep.
And they see it as some sort of direct communication with them because they don't have 5,000.
Right. And they want to keep
They
track of their
see it
kids and their
differently. Yeah,
grandkids.
they see it differently.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So you're wanting to get those messages out to who you want to target. Internet blogging, keywords, make sure you're understanding that. I was never a fan of hashtags. I was on this call again and they said make sure you get the hashtags, 30 of them on your Instagram posts, 4 to 5 on your Facebook posts.
Right, so you could cut
Right.
and paste them, Curtis, you don't have to.
Yeah, just put them in notes. Curtis, you can go back to my radio show, I'll send you the link to it, the gal that was on there and talked about it. And basically, she said, and when I started doing that, you'd be shocked, the amount of engagement on my Instagram was exponentially higher.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
And he used to
And-
make fun of it so bad,
Oh,
he hated it.
drive me nuts.
Right?
SEO, understanding those things, you gotta make sure you're on it. Video marketing, every one of these social media channels wants unique video. Give them what they want, they'll give you what you want. They want unique video, you want exposure, right? Everyone wins. So make sure you're doing the videos, and there's some real inexpensive methods of editing your videos, or just go straight to it. Employee benefit programs, these are all pillars, folks. These are all places where you can get leads, paid leads, business-to-business marketing plans. Again, schedule everything, time blocking, we've talked about that, I'm not gonna, if you want the video or the lunch and learn on time blocking, In Mindy's case, she would just go through it on fast forward, right? But I've got it there, I can send it to you, just let me know, put it on your survey sheet. Again, I've talked about a lot of these things. Doctor and nurse philosophy on teams, right? Remember, you are the doctor, your team is the nurse, right? That's the concept, that's the idea that you want to get in your head. The nurse is going to take care of most everything. You're the specialist, you're the one that's the expert. So, rules for effective team management. Everybody needs to know what the goals are. We talked about that earlier. Praise your staff. If they're not doing something right, let them know. But let them know the right way, right? You know, if Jonathan is really fouling up, I'm going to say, Jonathan, you know something? You did this really, really well. Oh, and by the way, you know, you're spending way too much on pens. But hey, we got a few orders from him, right? Sandwich that in, so you got it both ways. So homework, again, I think I've got that homework sheet on the back side, is making sure that you've got a job description for each person, job duties with measurements. And lo and behold,
That is a good book. for
1
those-
Minute Manager. If you haven't read it, it might be good. The other one I did, I think we gave it away, it was 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. I've got a goal sheet in the packet for you. I'm going to try and go through these last couple of slides pretty quick. We've got the pyramid of a complete agent. Right? You've got to understand all of these things. Knowledge, selling presentation, marketing, operations, and legacy. Right? You want to make sure that you're leaving behind with every transaction a reason and a method of communicating an expectation for people to come back to you. How you're going to hold yourself accountable. Again, that is the coaching concept we talked about. Share your dashboard with an accountability partner. Right? Make sure everyone's watching what's going on. Get a coach. I'm a big believer. If you need help, obviously our goal is if you got something out of this, we want to be your lender. Right? We'd love to interview for that. And I think we've got, well, Todd's not here this time. If you want some help implementing any of these things, if you've got questions about any of these things, there's a link right there to get on the calendar. We can chat.
Oh, Roma.
OC event to 79564. That's how you can register for the next one. CV event is for Palm Desert. But you can go to OC event. That's all I've got for you. I hope you got something of value out of this. I do hope that you will, two things. First off,
I have a question. Who is John Thomas?
Yeah.
John is a partner of mine. We mastermind and do some of these things. I remember I talked to you about delegating. He delegates some things to me. I delegate some things to him. So he happened to do some of the paperwork and typing,
Okay.
and I obviously didn't change it all as well as I should have. So, business planning for realtors, the survey. So that just goes to me. John
Why don't we give away
does.
some books and get Curtis's business card? Jenny, I didn't get yours either.
Okay.
Maybe we could do a drawing. I like to give stuff away.
Okay. As soon as I get there. Thank
Oh,
you.
sorry, I just.
Um,
I'll give you a card back.
So we've got the survey. If you give that to us back, and
Hand it out to your favorite.
you've got an invitation to the next lunch and learn and the date of
I
it.
gave you a Curtis.
Thank you.
We give it to you or to her?
Will you just leave it at your safe?
Give it to her.
Alright,
Give it to, no,
okay.
no, give it to her.
Okay.
Yeah, she's.
Sully, you and I, we're gonna hang out.
'Cause otherwise
We have
I
a lot to
forget.
talk about, Sully.
Okay.
Because I like doing wine